Hey everybody, David R. Becker here with BeckerArt. Hey, we're going to be painting some horses. I'm just going to be horsing around today. Yeah, so everybody has been ever taking my class, they know I don't like painting horses, and I have a really hard time with when there's legs involved. This one there's no legs involved, so it's all going to be good. And so, good morning, everybody. Let's go have some fun today. And yeah, so normally I can pretty much draw anything that I've seen, but because that was my job as an illustrator, I used to be able to draw anything if I've seen it and stuff. But the horses are the one thing, the legs, and when they're when they're walking or trotting or whatever they're doing, it's like their legs are just all over the place. So I have a little bit hard time doing that for my imagination, for my head. Well, this one will be fine because there is no legs, and so we're gonna get going right away because there's a lot to do here. And I'm working from black and white, and so if you're ever working from black and white, and this is kind of fun, I kind of enjoy doing black and whites because it's pretty much your values are right there. It shows you the values, and so then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take and kind of make up my colors. And I was thinking about this all night. It's so weird. I've been thinking about what colors I use. I've been looking at other paintings that have horses in it, and look at this. I got the Google browser back finally. Hey Sue, hey Maria, hey Darcy, Pamela, Pat, Sylvia. Thanks for dropping by, guys. And so what we're gonna do is I think I'm gonna all the paintings I've seen, and I just went on Pinterest. A good place to go for like looking at things and just getting ideas of color schemes and stuff is Pinterest. Go there and type something, and I typed in horse paintings, and so I just want to see what other people do, other artists, and that's not wrong to do that. And like masters, look at their masters work. Like last week, we actually worked with masters. I worked with Sargent, and I kind of looked at his palette and stuff, and so it's kind of good to do that. So what I'm going to do now is I think I'm gonna go with darks, definitely darks, and I'm gonna keep it limited palette. I think I do want to make it more abstract because it is kind of abstract with all the harnesses and stuff and the bridle and stuff. It's just really cool about this picture, and so I think I'm gonna go with the horses themselves look like they're like a beige or a burgundy, not burgundy, like a raw sienna type of thing, or burnt sienna. I was gonna say burnt sienna, light red, burnt orange, and so I'm gonna go with the red and like a turquoise. I think the main thing, and then of course I'm gonna put purple in because I always do. So, and ask questions if you like. And why is this advertising up here? Hold on one second. Let me see so I can make sure I finally made my browser a Google browser, and I'm used to that browser. It always popped up out of another browser. Anyways, so let's get started. And this, of course, you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do my lights, right? And so I'm going to do my lights, and my background is dark, so I don't have to do my background right away. But I will do things like the light art of the horse, and I'm doing it 12 by 16 because I have actually. I'm going to put it right in our frame. I'm going to show you guys, and I'm doing it on board. I'm doing it on board, on the crescent board, 12 by 16, and I have a frame ready for it. And so we're going to see, and it's also a black frame, and I just put a lot of black into this too. A lot of darks I'm going to do, but right now we're doing our lights, right? So let's go and do our lights, like a little bit of orange, burnt umber, burnt sienna. I keep on saying burnt umber, burnt sienna. So let's go in there with a light and basically go over the bridle. And I did put a little bit of masking fluid down for the dots and stuff. And I would have put more, but my masking fluid was almost dried up, and because I don't use it very often. So it's one thing about masking fluid. And I always leave it in a car, and when it freezes, that's not a good thing to do to your masking fluid. I mean, I am going to keep white on on their nose because that'll be the lightest light. And so I'm going to go in here, kind of go with the red. I can go over the bridle too because the bridle are darker. And I did bring out my gouache paints because I want to show you a little bit about how I can use the gouache paints like watercolor and make it so that you can use gouache just like watercolor. It is watercolor. It's just opaque watercolor. In my class yesterday, I was showing the class this about, the difference between the two, watercolor and gouache. And really, the funny thing is that they're both the same. Basically, they're pigment that's watercolor, but the gouache is more finely ground, and so that then gives it more coverability. It covers better because it's opaque. It makes things more opaque. So now here I'm going to take a little bit of gouache, purple, and I'm gonna put some of my darks in here right away. You know, I just thought I'm gonna go from this light to dark, and then why not put it in right away? You know, I'll just put it in a little bit right away because I want to get that gradation between lights and darks. And of course, I'm using a little bit of purple. And look at it, putting it right into the wash. I didn't even mix it here. I didn't go like that and mix it. I'm just going right in here. And this is gouache, but look at how gouache acts just like watercolor. Isn't that a surprise? No, it's not. It is watercolor. It's just ground more finely. So when you're using it, if you want to cover an area up or get more pigment, use gouache. And so I'm just going in here. Look at how I'm just making a light wash. Now, again, like I said, I did go from light to dark right here, and I'm going to kind of hopefully keep that to where it's at. And sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you do step 1 and step 2 together. And, you know, I would do it anyways, next step. And so you can, like, the steps don't have to be totally in order. Like, they can be together. You know, you can put some steps together. It's not like so permanently that, oh, I got to do all my lights and perfectly my lights and stuff. But no, as long as you are starting with your lights, and if the light happens to go into a dark right away, put it in. It's okay. And this goes down, and it's going to go a little darker right here. And I can also always get darker on top of that too when I let it dry. I can go a little bit darker. And you notice how I'm going over the harnesses, and after I look where it's going to be light, and so I'm just going to try to keep away from that. And let me put some color, again, some color for the light. The horse right here is pretty much going to be white, and I can't touch that area because then it's going to bleed into there. So that's a hard edge. I want to keep that hard edge right there. So again, a little bit of light. I'm going to put some colors for my lights. And again, I'm going with orange, and I didn't put the turquoise in yet, but I will be putting in some turquoise into the reddish areas. To the light areas, basically. On the harness, I'm going to put some turquoise. And maybe the background's going to be all like a dark turquoise to it. Why is this not scrolling up? What's going on here? I can't read if you guys are having questions. If you guys ask a question, let me see. Rainy Florida, oh no. Well, yeah, yesterday it was like a little bit sunny here, and I thought it was going to rain, but it didn't. So it's been nice here, but haven't. I was gonna go maybe gone outside today, but it's still a little chilly, and so I decided I am staying in because I can't wait to get back out there and do some plein air painting. I gotta get some practice in. So here I'm putting. Let's just put the more lights in. Let's just get some lights in here. Using some brilliant orange. Some brilliant orange in here with a little bit of light red, which is like a orange, kind of like a burnt orange. I just find this light red to be the wrong name for this color because it's more. I use it for more like a burnt orange or a burnt sienna. To me, it's like burnt sienna. It's my burnt sienna actually. Mix that with a little bit of alizarin, and then you can get in there. And look at a nice wash. See how it's all together? I'm just getting this lights, getting a light wash in there. Put a little yellow in there. Go right through the harness. You know, like I said, the harness is darker, and yes, there are parts on the harness that are lighter. I'm either going to rub them out or I'm going to use opaques to get them back. So I'm just going to go in and get the light values, and like I said, if there is a part where you go and do a dark part right away, that's fine. I'm getting a little bit of this purple in there. This is gouache. This is a gouache color, but when it's used like watercolor, it's the same, and it's more pigmented, and it floats just like, you know, just like the watercolor does. Floats the same. really is not that much different when you're using it wet into wet. I was thinking to myself, it's like, boy, you kind of get more pigment with the gouache. Maybe I should buy more gouache, but the gouache doesn't, it dries a little bit more than, though this is my thing, and I've filled this up like about 6 months ago, and it's still, it's still fine. And what I did is I let it open one time too long because I have a cover for that keeps them moist, and this is the cover, and so you put that over. It's silicone, so it keeps it airtight. But I left it open one night, and so it got they got a little bit harder. But I just added a little bit of water, and they actually rejuvenated. And I just went in there with my palette knife, and I just kind of pushed them around, and they actually came out really well. I was surprised. I was like, oh man, oh, I went into an area that's light. Excuse me. So this area right here is light, so I'm just going to rub this out, get that back to light because that's the light area. And that's I'm going to keep that pretty much like just a little bit of the orange light. And then the harness around his neck is dark in here. It's all dark and stuff, and so I'll wait for that. I'm just going to put a little bit of light in there. That'll make the light parts shiny, those colors, the warm colors. Get his legs, and I'll do the dark part later. Again, I can, if it's part of the light, then it's okay to put it in, but I'll just put that in later. That's a little purple. Nice thing about gouache is that you can then, after you get your watercolor washes done and make them look really cool, then you can go into like a oil painter's kind of or acrylic mode, because then you can put it on thick, and that's kind of cool. I know there's, I mean, you couldn't enter into some of the competitions and stuff like TWSA, but there's some times when I really like that look of like heavy bodied paint, thick paint on there. So, don't be afraid to put that in there. You still can submit it to other like AWS and and NWS, those kind of things. You can submit it to those. It's just that TWSA, transparent watercolor, is all about transparency. So don't submit to those with one that's really thick watercolor. All right, let's see. Just a little bit darker up here. And while I let this dry, I may go right into the background, get that done. Why not? It's a big medium, big dark, and so that's my next step. Anyways, these are my lights. This is my lights, and I did get some darks in here, but they're going to be a little bit darker probably. And look at all the nice the washes. It's all wet. No, I do not have my, hey Mary, I don't have my gouache in my same palette as my watercolor. I have it separate in this thing. It's a Transom. You can find it on my website if you go to the products. I got it on Amazon. It's a Transom. It's called the Transom palette, and it has a silicone top, so it stays. I just spray it before I close it, and they stay moist forever. It's really a good thing for gouache, because gouache does dry a little bit faster than the Holbein. The Holbein's never dry to a hard rock. The watercolors. Now the gouache is watercolor, and it lasts a long time, and you can rejuvenate it, but not as well as the watercolors, because there must be something in them that makes them dry a little bit more. I don't think they have oxgal, but which is what most paint companies put in. So let's do this background, and I thought I was gonna do a little turquoise in some of this. Let me see what the turquoise will look like. And I'm gonna do the dark now, and so I'm gonna put some black and some dark purple. And I know it's like doing the background now is like, why are you doing the background? Because you haven't even got anything done here. But that's okay, because I'm going to go around them. And it's pretty much a large medium, and it's a large dark. And so that's the next step. Step 2 is large mediums, large darks. So why not go in here and just get that right away? What the heck? And I'll wet it as I go along. I call this wetting as I go along. So I'm going to do purple and turquoise. Just going to put that in there. And I will put that into the darks later on, because right now there is none of that in this. This is the warm, and the background's gonna be cool. And so I'll put some of this turquoise and the purple into the horse later. I didn't do that first because I just put in a lot of warm colors, a lot of light, warm light colors. And this is a negative painting the hair. So I'm wetting it with a dirty brush. And then now it's wet, and now I'll go in here and take a little bit more colors, a little thicker paint. I'm using gouache in this because then I can cover better. It just covers better. It's a thicker. They grind it more, or they grind it more or something. So it's more pigment. It's finely ground. It's like when you get house paint. You know, house paint when you go and get house paint, usually the cheap stuff doesn't have much pigment in it, so you're never covering really well. But this has a lot of pigment in it, so it covers really well. But now the watercolor turquoise is watercolor, so that's not. I could use this blue, but that's not turquoise. This is turquoise. Use a little bit of purple. I'm still letting it float though. See, and it'll stay darker. It won't lighten as much as like if I were to use just the watercolor, the transparent watercolor. Just always remember the name. Transparent watercolor is transparent, and gouache is opaque. It's opaque watercolor. It's not acrylic, though they do have an acrylic gouache, but this is not that. This is watercolor gouache. So I'm waiting as I go along. I should put a little bit of the red in there too, just to reflect some of this in there while it's wet. Just let it float. Give it kind of a nice, loose look. I'm not going to be drawing stuff back there. I don't care what's back there. I just want it dark. And later on, I could even go in and scrape a little bit, a few more hairs in there and that kind of stuff. And you could put that in too beforehand with masking fluid, but to me, that's too sharp. I'd rather just get it a little bit less sharp like that. And I'm painting on a board, so I don't have to worry about taping it down. It's not going to bend or mold or buckle. Is that dark? Yeah, this is dark, so just go right across this. So I just wet it. See how I wet with, I don't care what's in my brush when I'm wetting it. Then I come back and I grab, colors and drop them in there. You can do some spattering if you like. Just do a little of this. If it gets on the horse, that's a good thing. You know me and my splatter. I love spatter. If it's too messy, then splatter. It's spatter or splatter. Look at that purple. Ooh, that's a beautiful purple. Maybe a little lighter purple, turquoise, black. I'm going to use a little black too. I want it really dark in some spots. Over here, maybe make it really dark. Go up to the edge. Now it is a hard edge all through here, but later on I can go in and let it kind of bleed into that areas. Let's put a little bit of, forgot to put a little bit of orange and stuff in there too. That's okay, put that in there, just let it float. I always tell my students, what is it about your washes that make it yours? Do you use salt? Do you always do a certain thing to your washes? Because basically this is a big wet wash, and many people have a different way of doing their washes that make it look, when you can tell it's their kind of painting. Down here, I'm gonna get a little bit warmer, like it's coming forward a little bit. And there is, in the picture, there's a dark right here, a guy standing there, but I'm not gonna put that in. Just gonna make that like a little bit dark. I mean, there are millions of ways to do a wash. It's just, do Do you use salt? Do you use a certain kind of paint? You know, do you use I just got some of this brusho. This is brusho. It's this paint that comes in like it's pigmented paint. And let me see if I can put a little bit of that in there. So you just tap like this. Let's see how it just is. It's red. What color is this, anyways? Orange. So this is orange. That's a good color. That's one of my favorites. So I'm just going to put a little bit of brusho in there. Again, this is just another way of doing a wash. You know, there's so many different ways of doing a wet in the wet wash. And look at how it makes little dots. It's basically pigmented. It's very pigmented pigment. It's not water. It's, I guess, pigmented watercolor. It's dry pigment or something that you can put on there, and it just bursts. It gives you these little bursts. I know a lot of my students had it, and I just wanted to see what it would do. Gives a little texture, and it's just like using salt. To me, it's like another little additive to my Holbein watercolors. Is I just added to that, and it gives it another look, another kind of feel to that. Let's see, a little bit darker in here. Make it a little bit darker down here. That way it'll pop out a little bit more. It's amazing how when I started using gouache with my watercolors, like you can't tell that that's gouache, right? Because it's done wet in a wet. So it's no different when you're using it wet in a wet. The only difference is when you're starting to use it dry, on dry paper that where you're using it thick, like more of like a watercolor, like a oil or an acrylic. So that's where you'd see the difference. But in this, like something like this, you don't see the background. You don't see that. It just covers more. Yeah, you really don't see a little bit of the brusho, but I'm gonna spatter a little bit, just regular spatter, because that's my thing. I love spatter. You know me. I love the spatter. I just hit it like this, and I just hit it on there, and I know it gets on the horse and stuff, but that's okay. There's flies on them anyways. All right, so there's my background. Oh, I forgot I have my headlights on there, my top lights, so you're seeing a little bit of that. If you don't have gouache and you want to match that, you could do that. Just buy those colors that are really dark. It's the same, you know, like I'm saying, if this is wet and you're using gouache, it's no different than using the watercolor, because the watercolor does the same thing. You probably have to use a little bit more pigment to keep it darker and get it over the white paper. So just use darker colors and more pigment, because gouache has more pigment in it. It's more finely ground, so you have more pigment. So it's the same thing. You can get the same look with watercolors, because I didn't use it thick yet, like in a gouache. I didn't use it like an oil. So just use your watercolor the way you normally do. Just use more of it to get it down nice and thick. All right, so now we just got to go in there and get our darks. That's our large, dark, medium in the background. And so the background I'm pretty much going to done. I was thinking of maybe making it look like it's cold, so you get a little, out of his nose can come some thing. You can do that later when it's dry. All right, so where do I start? Oh, there's a lot of work here. Oh my gosh, I hope I can do this in an hour. All right, so I'm just going to go in here now and just start doing my large mediums, like his ear. Using a smaller brush, more round, because I'm kind of like I'm drawing right now. And once it's wet, I drop other colors in there. And I'm just going to start doing parts, because I already got the big dark. And so I got kind of these big darks too. So I'm kind of doing the third step is the details, dark details. And that's fine, because I got most of my lights done. I got my mediums done. And so now if there is still some mediums in there, I still will do them. But it's pretty much go time now with your details. And this is the fun part. I mean, this is where, you know, it starts making it look like whatever it is. Here I'll start putting the harness on. And there's, I have masking fluid there, so I can go right over to get those little dots. Those are there already. This thing's a little bit light. And so I always like to go from like left to right, because that way I'm done. You know, I'm done. I'm not going over. Like, if I did this part, I'd be constantly going over it with my brush. So I like to go from left to right, because my palette is over here, and so I'm getting the farthest part of the way done first. Take a little bit of dark here, and look at, I'm gonna put a little black. That's a little black. You can put, see there, they have black in watercolor also. It's just that you would have to use more of that black because it's not as pigmented, and so you'd just have to use more black pigment. And that was still wet, so you're gonna get a soft edge there, but that's okay because it's the edge anyway, so that's okay. I don't mind that one bit. A little thing on his front of his nose here. Might as well go into his eye right away. Get some darks in here. And I do animals and eyes just like I would do a human eyes. I get it the color, you know, and I do the highlight, and I do all this stuff the same as if I would do a human eye, because they're very close except for the color and like how they're shaped. And then this is really dark right here, so just go right from the eye to there. And there, I didn't put a little dots in there, so that I will have to come back in and get, and just use gouache to get the dots that I want in the harness. And now in there, I want to get some turquoise in the harness. I want to kind of put some turquoise in there, so float some turquoise. You can make it really bright turquoise too in some spots. That's okay. I let it float. Now this is a big dark here. You know, I don't paint things as each a certain color. Like the color that the harness is probably just a brown, right? I don't just paint it brown, everything brown. I paint what's around it because it will reflect that color into it. And it's a painting, and so I want to reflect those other colors into that dark. So even though this harness is probably just a totally dark brown harness, I can put anything I want in there as long as I look for the value. I look for the value of the color. And then I can just get the values in there. I can even put black in there, and it'll make the other parts look even darker or brighter in color. I still want it colorful. I want the harness to be colorful. All right, that goes down here. It's pretty thick. I'm looking over to my right because I have a bigger picture there so I can see what's going on here. And it's kind of important that, you know, hopefully you drew it on right. And I must say I traced this thing because I got to a point where I was like, man, oh man, this is hard to draw. Because to get it look just like that with all the harness, because I have no idea what the harness is. And so I traced a lot of this just to let you guys know. There's times I trace also. And I was kind of late in getting this. Last night I was starting to do that and stuff, and I got kind of tired of it. And so I just went and got some tracing paper and started tracing some of the, or transfer paper, not tracing paper. I mean, I could, if I spend hours on it, I could probably get pretty close, but I was just like, nah, I don't have that time. And there is a lot of, man, there's a lot of like little stuff going on in here. Use all those colors. I mean, all the colors is just dark, and I'm letting out all the colors that I know are floating in here. And the light parts, the shiny metal parts in there, I'll put those in later. I can't put them in now because it's just, I could have put in with masking fluid, but I didn't, so they'll have to be put in with light paint. Wow, that's the bottom of his mouth. Then we got this harness. Oh my God, there's so much going on here. Okay, so a lot of this I'm going to fake. You know, I'm not super hyper realist. So hyper realist would make every little detail in here. I'm going to make it more impressionistic because I just don't have the time to do every little thing in there. And that's where the hyper realism gets its like wow, because that's what I always feel like wow, to spend the time like that to get all those things in there and make it look just like the photograph. Incredible. It's pretty incredible. I don't have the patience to do that, but I'm really it's amazing for those of you that can do that. And there's parts I would like to do really hyper realism too. Like I like to have my painting look hyper realism and a little bit of softness to them too. A little bit of both. So here I'm gonna wet it again, make it a little bit darker. And then there's the hair, which is white, and then I'm gonna shadow it with maybe some turquoise. And then there's a couple of these harnesses in there. I know they're gonna be soft edge because they're way up there, but that's okay. You can keep them soft edge, that's fine. Then this is the blinder right here of this horse. And there's a white chain coming down here, and that I'll put in later. Now this part of the horse is a little bit darker. And we'll get more detail as we go on too. Like this part of the nose is a little bit darker. Let's go to this one. Actually, we gotta go down and over. Now his hair up here, I'm gonna do a little bit darker and kind of rub it with my finger a little bit. And I can actually use white paint too if I'd like to later, and just put some wisps of light. And I'm not sure what this white thing is that's in the picture, because I'm not gonna put that in. I'm not sure what that is. It's out of focus. It's actually in the background too. It looks like part of the scaffolding back there. All right, let's go into this area, which is shadowed. And so I'm going to use some shadow color. Just going to shadow this up a little bit. And there is so much stuff going on in here. Unbelievable how much stuff is on there. Wow, that's all I got to say. There is a lot of things happening right here. And this is really dark right here. And it goes from a dark, and it's actually then it comes to a brownish color for the harness. And then we've got the things going up this way. Then we've got shadowing. And this part's light, and then we get some dark coming through here. And a lot of times when I'm doing these little things, I'm not really thinking about what colors. I'm just going in, trying to make sure I can get all this stuff. And so I'm just using a dark color. Hey, Rita. No, this is definitely not a low, oh, actually a low key painting. High key. It's not a high key, but maybe a low key. Low key meaning very dark. Actually, I don't think I've ever heard a low key term. I'm thinking that, so low key, it would be very dark. I'm guessing. If that is, then yes, this is a very low key. High key, it would not be, because high key is what we did with the Sergeant, where everything's really light. Let's get a little bit of orange in this. Using a little bit of, boy, I'm using a lot of gouache today. Not sure why. Let's get back to our burgundy. Make the shadowing look really cool. See, I want to make the shadowing a little bit of the burgundy, so that there's some burgundy in here. Not burgundy. What am I talking about? turquoise I was talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Getting some turquoise in here. All right, so this horse looks pretty well. Actually, let's get this really dark here. Use my little bit rounder, bigger brush. Let's go with a little bit dark. Okay, that's dark, and then it goes to a warm, like the orange of the horse. So a little bit of orange here. Wet as it go along. Drop it in there and just let things float. I'm very much into floating. You guys know that. I mean, that's how I get my washes to look very, very fluid, you know, and make them float and get pigmentation, or you get granulation, I mean. A little granulation happening. Soft edges, when you wet it and just go in there, you get all these beautiful soft edges that happen on their own. You don't have to even do anything. Let's see. That's funny because I don't think I've ever heard of low-key paintings. I always heard of high-key paintings. So thanks for doing that. I have never heard of that, but I'm guessing that would be really dark, low-key. That's weird. All the years I've ever painted and taught, I never heard that term, low-key. I've watched Loki on the Disney Channel. No, that's not. So different colors in there. Remember, I do darks, but I just pick up all my darks on my palette right now. See, I wet it and I go in there with my darks. This has a little bit more of the orange. This is closer, so I want to get a little bit more orange in here. And this has like this little part of the harness is a little dark right here. Get this little circle here on this harness. The ear is a little bit darker. And I know a lot of you have been painting really a lot, and you know that is the secret of anything. And I was talking about that a lot this week because I have a new class now in Lake Zurich, and that class, by the way, is going to be bigger, and they're going to open up another classroom because I know some of you are on a waiting list. They're going to open up another classroom, so we're going to have two classrooms in there in Lake Zurich, so that nobody has to wait for a waiting list. And it'll be fine because you're all doing your own thing anyways, and so we can do 2 rooms. They're right next to each other, so it wouldn't be that big a deal. Here I'm just putting in pretty dark darks now. Let's get his eye, or her eye. I'm going to put some blue in their eyes. I don't know if horses have blue eyes. This one does. This is a new breed. Actually, that's my cousin who has a horse farm, a horse ranch up in Canada. I was going to go there last year and do a lot of things, but didn't get up to very much to sketch as much as I would have liked. But maybe this year, maybe I can get up there somehow and do a lot of sketching of the horses. That's how you learn anything, is sketching them and just going there and drawing them and just getting to a point where you can do them in your head. Oh, thanks, Maria. That's very cool. Very cool. I learned something myself. See that? Isn't that great that you not only do you guys learn, but I learn. So, that's why I do these Sunday mornings. I'm here on Sunday mornings to just learn. I'm just trying new things, and this is just trying to learn how to do horses, and horses are usually a problem for me. I really have a hard time drawing them from my imagination because I have not drawn them enough, and I don't have that as much interest in that as drawing my like boats per se. So I do like drawing a lot of different. As you notice, I do like drawing a lot of different things or painting a lot of different things, which in some ways is not a good thing because then you're always you don't really have a certain subject matter that you do a lot of, and you get known for that. But you know what? I like doing all kinds of things. All right, boy, there's a lot of stuff here. That's what I love about it, though. That's absolutely what I truly love about this picture is all that stuff. That is so neat. And so I'm gonna go in here and get the shadows first, the medium shadows. There's some medium shadows down on the side of the horse here. I'm gonna make it turquoise. Let me see, what color should I make it? This shadow right here, look at how it kind of goes across here. And it's just the same color that you use there, just darker. This week's newsletter is going to be about how to darken colors. I got a good question for somebody had asked me about yellow. How do you darken yellow or gold? And I asked my class that after this. I think who was it again? I have to remember. I have to go look at the email or message. I have to look it up again. But who it was that asked me the question. But it's about how do you darken yellow because they were doing the pants of the football players, and that is a really good question because yellow is always the hardest to darken, but it really isn't because it's always the same color, just darker. So blue is easy to darken because it's just darker blue. A light blue is a darker blue. Red is just a darker red. But yellow, it's like, okay, well, there's no thing as a dark yellow, but it is in the fact that it's brown and purples, and that's what you use for that, depending if you want it cool or warm. And so, yeah, so it's basically brown. Like this is brown underneath, and so you're using purples and browns. And then this is the shadow. And again, thank you for always asking questions like that because it helps me to do my newsletter, and it gives me something to talk about because sometimes I've been doing this now. I don't know how many years now I've been doing it, and I'm running out of things to think that you guys need to learn. And so it's always good when you guys ask me questions that I think I already did or maybe hadn't done before. All right, so now we got to get this also in shadow. And there's a lot of light here, so this is basically all in shadow here, so why not just put a nice big wash across that? And then there's a bunch of stuff here that's in front that's light. I do have some masking fluid there. And then there's this chain that I'm going to put in there, and so I'm just going to put that as a shadow going across there. Let's make this round. That's the light part of the horse. This is the again the harness. And every time I do like a harness part or something, I'll put a little bit of the turquoise in there so that if I do one part of the harness there's that color, then when I'm using it somewhere else, it just automatically makes it look like, oh yeah, well that color's in the harness. So if I use that color, automatically it makes it a harness part. Push this over here a little bit. There we go. So this is all dark. This is really dark right here, so I'm going to just use black right there. You gotta hurry up. How many minutes we got left? Not that many. That's one of the things good about my job is that when I say an hour, and I will usually always get it done in that hour. So I just work for the time that it takes to do that. All right, so this is really dark by his mouth here. Give him a little bit of smile there too while I'm at it. And there's a harness part. Wow, there's a lot of stuff going on here. Man, oh man, that's a lot of stuff. Nice thing is that when you have a bunch of stuff like this, so you can't get it wrong. All you do is put a couple of dashes here and there, and you're fine. It's going to look great because, I mean, I could put every single one of those things in. Like I said, I'm not a hyper realist, but they would do that. They would put everyone in. That's what makes it look cool. I'll make it an impression of that. Like, yep, that's there, but it's an impression. So I guess I'm an impressionist, and they are hyper realists. Hey, Susan. Hey, thanks for getting up. I actually got up late myself this day. That's the time I had to rush and get it in here and get things done. And then I used the tracing paper to get parts done. I was a little bit late today. Now this whole area here is dark, nice dark shadowing. So I use some turquoise and let's do some orange again. Some of the orange and red because he's actually an orange horse. Not orange, but red. I'm just going to go there and make it dark. Like this is a soft edge. Really enjoying working on a board because it doesn't thing, and I can't wait until Hope or Legion starts getting their aluminum panels ready. I'm dying to use these things. I'm going to show you in a second when I get this done how I'm going to frame it right away. I have a frame ready for it. Let's get some turquoise in here for shadowing again. Turquoise and lavender is a great color for shadowing white. The hair. And like I said, I will be going in here with white paint later and getting opaque colors in there and making it thick, and that's fine. I do have to make some things darker here. And this is so parts that are really, really dark, then I'm going to use like black just to get that look and get things pushed back and forward. And this is a big, huge harness right here. And this is the side here, so I don't want you to look over here that much. So I'm going to push a lot of that together as one big wash. And you notice when I'm going into my gouache or my watercolors, it doesn't matter. I can put them both in, and because I'm using it wet in the wet, and it doesn't matter which one you use. Like, you don't have to dip into one, not the other. You can dip them both together. It's okay. It's totally okay to go into either one. This is really dark in here, so I'm just going to take a little bit of this purple. Then I'm going to have to wait for it to dry real quick. How much time do we have? 10 minutes, okay. Well, that's good then. So I'm glad that you like the variety of pigment. Like I said, it's not good for like galleries or being famous as an artist, because you got to get known for a certain type of thing or a certain type of subject matter. But in my teaching, I always like to teach a little bit of everything. You know, I think it's important that you see me paint not only just one type of thing, but all kinds of stuff. Because it really, when it comes to the subject matter, I don't paint anything differently. You notice I always go to the 3-step, BeckerArt 3-step. I still do that all the time. I never stop that. That is something I never stop. It's always light to medium to darks to detailed darks. It's always that. I'm going to rub out a little bit because lost this edge right here, so I'm gonna take my brush and I'm just gonna brush out a little bit. Wipe that off a little bit. Get some of the hairs in there. Going into black and getting some of the really intense darks, lines and stuff that you need in there. This is like dark, I call them dark highlights because there's light highlights, which I'm going to rub off in a second. That's the masking fluid. That gives you the light highlights, but there's also a thing called dark highlights because they're like little crevices or things that are just basically black. And so I just take solid black and I just put them in where I want it to pop. You know, it's like this little things that pop it forward. And so not only are there dark highlights, there's light highlights and dark highlights. And I think I just made that up. I think that's just my thing. I don't think there's actually anybody that's ever said that they're, oh yeah, that's a dark highlight. You know, that's because highlight and dark are not the same word. So I think it's my made up thing. Hey, Marcia. Look what the Brusho did. See the Brusho? Give me that kind of look in there. Interesting stuff. Interesting pigment. Okay, let's get this masking fluid off of there. I don't have much time left. And so I have, nice thing about having rubber gloves on is that they act as like a pickup, like a rubber cement pickup. And so I can easily just rub across with my rubber gloves and I can take the masking fluid off. So another good reason for wearing gloves. Zip it up here. And make sure everything is dry when you're going over to do this. I noticed, oh, that's wet. You can feel it right. I could feel it through my gloves how it slipped. When something is wet, it'll slip. That too. All right, let me take my my dryer, which I highly don't recommend this at all. Just taking a heat gun and heating it to get it dry. You don't want to do that especially for masking fluid. But let me just do this really quick so I can get the masking fluid off of there. I need to get it. I only got like 7 minutes left, so I'll still show you. Now, if you wanted to go back into something, which I was showing my class last week, is that you can always go into everything. It's not like watercolor is so... I keep on saying, oh, it's the hardest because you can't go back in and do something. If I wanted to redo my whole background, I could do that. I could easily do that. I could just... What I had to make sure is that I would have to go in and like first get rid of some of the pigment, because if I'm mixing pigment on top of pigment, it's just going to get muddy, you know? So I would have to like eliminate an area. I would just take and tickle it, wet it, and I may even do it to show you that it's not impossible to go back in and do things and kind of finish something that you didn't like that you did first. We always feel like, I mean, I don't know, we've always been taught that you can't, but you can. You can definitely go back in. Excuse me. You can go back into an area and just re-wet it. And now I'm going to go in and just get some white and just some opaque colors. And I'm using gouache now like it would be oils. And I would just go in and basically, I'm going to take some turquoise here. And you can do this with watercolor too, to a point. It doesn't, because if you don't make it really thick, it's not really made for being really thick. But there's a certain point you can do a little bit of it. You know, it's okay. I'm using light blue. I'll use a little bit of white. And I'll get things that I missed with the masking fluid. And you can also tone down those things too later. I mean, if you look at this scene, oh my gosh, there's so many things happening. You know, in the hairs, you can do the hairs. I like wisping the hairs a little bit, especially back here where I missed it. And I actually kind of like this look. I think the look of having some gouache on your watercolor, I actually enjoy that look. I think it's a neat look. The thickness, so not only do you get the um, the transparency of your watercolor, but you also get some thickness of like a paint, like almost like a oil. Highlight here and there. I don't do much of it. I mean, I don't do a super a lot of it, but just enough to make it look neat. And I think I need more darks in here, more dark highlights to get it to pop, like certain things to pop. Like this should go back here. That should go back a little bit. It shows the size of things. This harness right here, what's happening with this harness? Okay, this goes down. I totally missed this harness right here. And it goes behind the head here. This is really dark. It's really dark in there. Values. It's all about the values, guys. You gotta watch the values. Colors, like you saw how many different colors I put in here. And I even tried to keep it a little bit not colorful, but it still turned out colorful, even though I didn't want it to. Oh, this, I see. This patch is right here. That's what that is. That's the eye. That's the blinder, which I didn't really get. Now this blinder, see? Okay, let me show you one last thing, and that's in the next 3 minutes. Is like when you're, like right here, my blinder there got kind of washed out, so because it was wet in the wet. So what I'm going to do to fix that is I'm just going to wet this area, wet it to that point, and see how I took out the paint. And then what I'm going to do is re-wet that whole area. Just really lightly wet the whole area to fix it. And then let's say I think I need to have a different color there. I really lightly put a wash of water on that. And then it's like new. Now, if I don't want to use these colors or make them a little bit different, then I would redo this color, like take that totally more out. But it's okay because I'm going to use that same color. Maybe use a little bit of orange in there, or maybe some purple, and float that in there again. And so it's fine. I just would need to get rid of that look of blurriness that I had there for the blinder on the horse. And I mean, I could keep on working on it and make it more and more, but I want to make it look just really, really quick study. Here we got some shadows. And I think we're pretty close here, guys. Another fun little painting. And let me make this scene really big for you guys, just so if you do want to do this, I'm going to take this picture and just make it big and then stop it and then take a look. So there it is big, so you can see it all. Take a look, and then just go from there. If you'd like to try this one, you can also go to Pixabay. I think it's pixabay.com, where I got this image, and just type in horse with bridle. And so you can pick up that same picture. And that's where I got it, for Pixabay. Royalty-free images. All right, let me show you the last thing. I want to put it into a frame. Put my brushes over here. So I got a plein air frame. I would then assign it, wax it, or varnish it, depending on what you want to do. And then I put the frame over it. Just move this out of the way here a little bit. Put it right into the frame, and it's all done. See? Now it goes up a little bit because it's singing down, but this is 12 by 16 frame. So there you have it. All framed up and everything. All right. So another great morning with you guys. Thanks again so much for coming by and watching. And give it a shot. It's always fun. And if you still have questions, put them into the description of the video, and I will try to answer them. Probably not right away all the time, but I do answer them sooner or later. And until next Thursday, which I have no idea what we're painting. Actually, I kind of do. We're going to be probably painting some flowers where we're using masking fluid and a soft background. And so I'm really into soft backgrounds right now. All right. So see you on next Thursday. All right. Until then, have a great rest of the weekend, guys. And enjoy President's Day if you have it off. Thanks.